Hi guys, this is Amy with Unique Designs AZ, and I am going to do a tutorial for you today on the corset tumbler. So let's start off with the supplies that you will need to create this cup. First thing we're going to need is your beer stein. You will need some black spray paint. You'll need some clear spray paint. You're going to need quick set 2-part epoxy. You're going to need a material tape measure. And I also have this thing, a gauge measure. I can't remember the name of this, but it's that, like, as you see on TV kind of a thing. So you need one of those or something similar. You will need a 9/64 drill bit. You will need an electric drill bit or drill. You'll need your Mod Podge. You'll need Aileens Tack It over and over. You will need light colored Sharpies. Oh, sorry about my cat. Move, Simon. You'll need a white fabric pencil. Obviously a paintbrush. I use a little bit on the shorter, stiffer side so that I have some control over where it's going. You'll need some ribbon. I use the satin ribbon. And then, of course, you'll need your glitters. My base for my corset tumbler is Holographic Oil Slick. It is a chunky mix by Glitter Fetish. And the corset color today is going to be called Atlantis. It is a color shift chunky mix, also by Glitter Fetish. I absolutely love them. They are veteran owned. Come on, Simon. And then you're going to need hook and eyes. So I searched the internet for some hook and eyes, and I looked for fancy hook and eyes because I didn't want to have just anything typical. So I found these. Actually, it was on Amazon. They are sold out currently, but I believe you should be able to find them somewhere. If not, find your own. You will also need to have jump rings. I have glitter all over my hands. And then you're going to need these little guys, and they're called clamshell crimp bead covers. You can see that. And you get them in the jewelry section at Michael's. And that is what you're going to need. So let's get started. All right, so I have now spray painted my tumbler black. And then I went ahead and already did the tack it method because there's videos out there on how to do that. So I currently have my tumbler. Again, this was holographic glitter called Oil Slick by Glitter Fetish. All right, so first thing we're going to do today is we're going to apply our, oh, there's cat hair all over, fun. We're going to apply our hook and eyes using your Mod Podge. So we are going to completely cover the back side of this. Getting some wax paper so I don't get it all over my table. You're going to want to coat it really well. Look, more cat hair. Simon, this is your hair. And if you guys notice on my hook and eye closures, I did cut the top of it at a V angle, and I would recommend that you do that as well. And once we get this on and sealed properly, I'll show you why. Make sure you get your ends really well so they don't lift later on in the process. All right. Okay, so I usually bring it up about an inch from the bottom or so. Because when you think about it, your curve starts at the hips. Well, maybe mine doesn't, but most people's will. So we want to have it close to the bottom. And as I put this on, I'm going to be Mod Podging this on. And I get it on this hardware, so I want to wipe that off so it stays shiny. And the ends of your cotton tape will fray. So really make sure that you get that covered really well in the Mod Podge. And making sure that your insides stay touching each other. I need to have some moa, so let's put some back on here. So we need to really make sure that this gets sealed on this cut. I'm very messy, so bear with me. I use my paintbrush to get in there and get it pressed down. All right. I will clean up the top and bottom of this once I get this sealed in here. I'm not worried about the Mod Podge on the side because the glitter is going to cover all that up. We don't have to worry about that at all. Make sure you keep pressing it down, making sure it's smooth in between. This does like to bubble up because of the hardware that's on the underside. Okay. up later. See, I have this little piece of string right here from it fraying. So let's cut that off. Making sure it's even. Getting a little water on my paper towel. I can do some cleanup. Removed it. Just going to tap the edges because they're wanting to fray. Let's get them down and sealed good. Little corner likes to stick up. Let's hit that again. All right, so we're gonna let this sit and dry completely, and then we will be back. Welcome back. So everything is dry, and now we're going to start with drawing out the lines for the corset. So here is where you're going to need your fabric pencil, and this is where you're going to use this handy dandy little thing. So what we're going to do first of all is you have your V in your cotton tape. So you are going to just basically hand draw it up like this. And then right off the points on both sides, just draw your line up. This gives the area where your cleavage would be. I think I need to go up this way a little more. Okay, I like this side better, so I'm going to work off of this side. So, set my cup down. And I gotta figure out where my line is going to be. So let's see. A little lower. I'm gonna put my pencil down. Nope, I need one higher. Okay. And we're going to use that, and we're just going to draw our line all the way around the cup. So it'll line up with that side. If you can see it real well. So much sparkle in that holographic. But so I have my straight line all the way around. And then we're going to also do one at the bottom with the seam tape down here. So Let's see. No. No. One more. I think I got a little off on that one. Let's see. Okay. So there you have your two lines. Now, you need to make the gap in the back. The gap in the back is where you're going to be lacing and putting your clamps and your rings. So, I will lay this down so it's even on here. Pull out my tape measure. We're going to do 2 inches. So 1 inch is going to be right in the middle. I'm actually going to do 2 and 3. So right here and right here. So there's my 2-inch mark. Now, what I did with this part is I held this flat against it. Let me turn this around so you guys can see. Okay, and I took my pencil. Whoop. Make sure you hold your cup. Took my pencil and I started drawing down. Okay, so you have your 2-inch mark. Now, I will typically go in and hand draw this down a bit because we gotta create the hips. And so that's where I flare my line out. Now, mind you, when you're doing your glitter, you'll cover everything up. So I started to flare it right here. So I'm going to go to this side and I'm going to flare it right here. It's hard to see this particular line. There. You see that? How I flared that out. Doesn't matter if it's messy because it's all going to be covered under a glitter anyway. All right. So now that we have our lines in, so this particular side and this particular side are the sides that we are going to glitter. And we're going to use the Mod Podge method and add our glitter. So, where'd my paintbrush go? I'm going to start on the back side, and I only do it in sections, typically. Make sure that you cover your line so you don't see that when you're done. We'll just do the whole thing. I live in Arizona, so everything here dries so fast. All right, so now when you get to this tape over here, you are going to go right up to the hardware on your cotton tape. This is a little bit tedious, so find your patience. Just making sure that I'm getting the ends covered in there with the Mod Podge. So it's already starting to dry, so we're going to go and just do a little more. Making sure I go right up to that line. All right. Everything's covered good. Okay. Flip this over since I got Mod Podge on this. My lid. Alright, so Atlantis by Glitter Fetish. Make sure you get the edges really well. And you will be doing about 2 or 3 coats of this. And make sure you let it dry in between each coat. Really good. I'll do one side with you guys, and then I'll complete the other side. The same exact method. Alright, and since I'm using chunky glitter, don't go anywhere, I need to make sure I tap it down. Checking for any other spots. See, I still have a little bit of white up in here that I can see. There's some white along here, and that's from the tape, or the, excuse me, the pencil. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? See, there's the beginning. So I will go ahead and complete the other side, and then we're going to let it sit and dry. And then once it's completely dry, we're going to go ahead and do a second coat. So I will come back to you with the second coat. Okay, so I got the first one done, and before we start on the second coat, what you need to do is you need to make sure you clean up your lines, because before we move on to our second coat, we're going to spray the first coat. That way the glitter isn't going to shift everywhere. So I just go with a paintbrush, go around the edges to make sure that it's straight and there isn't any of the chunkies in the way. I do say that using a medium glitter is actually a lot easier, or even a fine. Making sure that there isn't any glitter in the cleavage area. Again, this cup takes a lot of patience. Or tumbler, because I know some of you guys don't like when people use the word cup. All right, so I'm going to go outside and I'm going to spray paint this with a clear matte, and I'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. So we've got 2 coats on this using the Mod Podge method. And one thing I forgot to mention to you guys before you actually spray seal the first coat is to make sure that you're taking your lines off the cup, because once you spray those with the spray sealer, they kind of get stuck in there. And once that it's all dry, I usually go through with my finger and kind of clean up the edges, making sure that there isn't any loose spots that go over into your non-glittered area. And it's really important that you guys make sure that there is no glitter on your cotton tape, because now the process that we are going to start out doing today is to seal the hardware on here. So let me clean up my mess because it's terrible. I've got glitter everywhere. All right, so what we're going to work on now is I've heated up 10 mLs of epoxy so that it's super runny. We want it to be really runny because we want it to really get into the crevices of all the hardware and the tape. And all we're going to do is pour it in, but really slowly. We want it to infiltrate and soak into the cotton as much as we can without it running actually onto the cup. And it will run onto the cup, but I'd prefer to keep it on the tape as much as we can. Make sure you have your torch handy, which I forgot to grab it from over there, because you will need to make sure you pop all the bubbles. No, Simon. Let me grab my torch. Okay. This is a slow process, so you really want to make sure that it gets fills in all the different spaces. We don't want any bubbles. Simon, go. If it runs off to the side, it's totally fine, because you're going to be putting like 3 really good solid flood coats on this thing. Because we have to make sure that all the hardware's covered good, and we need to make sure that we have enough epoxy on here to do the clamp rings, as you will be drilling holes in this. Oh, see, I got a stray glitter right there. Let's see a few other strays in there. Darn it. There's another one. Glitter gets everywhere. And if your epoxy does start to thicken up a little bit, try and hit it with the heat gun again. Because you really just want to make sure that it seeps in those little weird crevices on the hook and eye tape. See, I already have some running down, and that's okay. Just spread it around. It'll eventually get covered anyway. And some more. Pulling all the stray glitter out at this point. Making sure any bubbles I have need to be popped. Make sure all of the tape, cotton tape, has been covered by epoxy. and then you won't have to worry about it. Make sure all the bubbles are popped. I would sit and nurse this a little bit, probably every 2 to 3 minutes, to go through and pop bubbles, because they will show through as you get to the end of your process. All right, so we gotta let that sit for now. I will come back when this is done to talk a little bit about what the next process is, but do keep in mind we are going to be doing at least 3 flood coats of epoxy on this. So it's going to take a couple of days before you get to the final part where we can add our clamps and rings. So I will be with you shortly. Hey guys, welcome back. So we now have 4 layers of epoxy on our cup, and now we're going to get to the nitty-gritty of what we're going to put the clamps and rings in. I've already done one side just to make the process a little bit faster. So this is what we're going to do. Now I measure where these are at, and then I line up my holes to coincide with the middle of each one of these. So they are exactly 1 inch apart, and so that's what we're going to measure here. So I started my first one. So what we're going to do, you need to have your Sharpie and your tape measure. All right. So our holes need to be 1/2 inch from the edge of the glitter and 1 inch apart this way. So what I've done is I've measured where the bottom of the glitter here to there, which is going to be just over 1/2 inch. Turn it this way so I can see it better. And so from the bottom of this one, I've already done mine. So it was 1/4 inch there. So on this side, I'm going to measure 1/4 inch from the bottom. Right. Yeah, okay. So 1/4 inch from the bottom, you guys can see this, is right here. Put my little dot. So now from there, we're going to make sure you lay this flat on your cup. We are going to measure in 1 inch increments. So I line up my one here. There's a dot there. There's a dot there. 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 And there. Okay. So I don't know if you can see the dots on there very well, but they're there. And don't worry about it. You can take alcohol and a Q-tip to remove the dots once your final dots are on there. So now my dots are on, and from the edge of the glitter here, you want to measure in 1/2 inch. So I line it up with the edge of that. My 1/2 inch is right here, and 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch here, 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch, and 1/2 inch. Okay. So then I take my cotton swab, get some alcohol on it. All right, now the fun part begins. We are going to take our drill. Oh, can you grab me the thing off of that? The thing on the end, push that down. There you go. Thank you. With our drill bit, I did mention what drill bit you needed at the beginning, but again, it is 9/64. And remember, we have 4 layers of epoxy on this, so don't be afraid to drill your hole, but all you really want is a good indent of where that clamp is going to go. So you line up your drill. Drill your holes. All right, so your holes are all drilled. If you can see that or not. Where are they? Yeah, so there's one there, and there. Okay, so now you're gonna take your 2-part 5-minute epoxy. I'm gonna pause this while I get this ready. Okay, so I've got my epoxy mixed up. I have my clamps, so what I do is I grab it by the hook, I dip the one end in the epoxy just a bit to get it on the end, and then we're going to lay it on the hole. And you still have some time, so I just hurry up and lay them on there, and then you can reposition them to make sure that they're all straight. And last one. All right, so now you have them all on there. You're going to turn your cup sideways, and you're just going to make sure that they're sitting straight and not at some weird angle, because when you set them in there, sometimes they do that. And the nice thing about the fast set is that it does give you time to go back and straighten them, but it does set really quick. I did try to use regular epoxy, but they were just rolling around all over the place, and I had to sit there and constantly babysit them, and that just doesn't work for me. All right, so we're gonna sit for about 15 minutes and let it completely set, and I'll be right back. All right, so we've been 15 minutes, and as you can see, I don't know if you can see them very well, they're all still popped up. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go in, I use this little jewelry tool, and I go through and just pushed the tops of your clamps down. Okay. Next we're going to do is we're going to take our O-rings, or excuse me, our jump rings. So a lot of times when you buy jump rings, I'm not sure if you can see that or not. It doesn't really know. They're kind of offset a little bit. You need to make sure that you get them straight. So you just bend them into place, then hang it off of your hook. Bend them in place, hang them off your hook. If you don't get them nice and straight, your ribbon can come off. And you can use a regular needle nose pliers. However, needle nose does have the lines in it, and sometimes the lines will go onto the metal. All right, so we have them hanging. So now we need to close the little hooks. Let me see if we can see them sticking up there. So again, I use the tool and I just bend it in. Bend them all in. Make sure the rings are hanging so that you get them stuck on there. And voila! So your rings are all on. Oh, see, I lost one. I didn't get that one on right. Make sure they're all pressed in there. There. Make sure I got the other side. Looks like there's one. All right. Okay, they're all done. Now it's time to lace it. You can see it. So I have my sheer lace, or sheer ribbon, excuse me. Can you hand me the scissors? Thank you. And we start at the bottom. And you can do fancy, or you can do non-fancy. I mean, I'm just going to do plain for today. And you basically just lace it up like you would a tennis shoe. Okay. There we go. All right, guys, look at that. And then we tie the top. All right, now one thing I would recommend for you guys to do is make sure you singe the bottom of your ribbon because it will fray. And there you have it, guys. There is the corset tumbler in all its glory. And again, I use Glitter Fetish Oil Slick Holographic for my base, and I used the Atlantis from Glitter Fetish. It is a color shift chunky mix in for the actual glitter. Please check them out. They're pretty amazing. Karen is on top of everything. If there's something that you don't see that you were wanting, she will try and get it for you. She is just awesome. So it's glitterfetish.com, and they also have a Facebook page called Glitter Fetish as well. Thank you guys for joining me, and have fun making them.